So you know what day is today? Somebody can share it in the chat box. Ma'am, you are able to hear me, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. What day is today? Some day is observed and some day we do see. Ma'am, in chat box, what they are sharing, ma'am?
Father's Day, ma'am.
So Father's Day. So how do you feel? It's Father's Day. So you are proud to have such a father. Everybody is very proud to have the father, because you know that a father is a son's first hero and daughter's first love. So they have been doing so much for us. So this Father's Day, we do want to fulfill the dreams of a father, because father, you know, they do believe in you. They do expect more from you. So their expectation we have to fulfill. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers. And another day. So, ma'am, anybody is typing in?
No, ma'am, not it, ma'am.
Uh,
Divya, you have raised your hand. You please type whatever you want in the chat box. Yoga Day. Sanjay is answering
Yoga Day, because that has been observed today. So at this pandemic time, all the outdoor sports, outdoor playing is fully restricted. We cannot do anything. So what we can do is to keep ourselves healthy, we can follow the yoga. So yoga practice always keeps you fit mentally as well as physically. So you can observe the yoga day today. Not only today, every day you have to do some yoga to keep yourself healthy. So another day. So 3 things. One more thing is
Music Day.
which one, ma'am?
Music Day. Somebody is writing. Sanjay.
What is the celestial occurrence today? Anybody is answering, ma'am?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
So today it is somebody has
Ruben Rahul. Solar eclipse.
Yes, as you know, this is solar eclipse. So what astrologers prediction, it may be right or wrong. They do observe that last solar eclipse, this pandemic has started. So with this solar eclipse, the pandemic would end. That is the predictions of astrologers. So you know, solar eclipse, though it is a celestial occurrence, it may have some kind of impact on human beings as well. That is what many people believe. But scientifically, there may not be much proof. But even otherwise, you shouldn't gaze at the sun. That everybody knows well. You shouldn't go out and with your bare eyes don't see the sun, because it would be harming your retina, and you will not be able to regain your vision also. So it may be harmful in that way. So it has some impact on human life. So better stay at home, at least for solar eclipse. So you be there, and this is the time you want to learn. So always you are all welcome to learn from us. So our wonderful teacher here, Tamichelvi ma'am, she has been doing a wonderful job of sharing her knowledge with all these students. That is continuing today also. So I welcome once again all the participants for this mathematics webinar. Then let me give you a brief introduction about our college. This is a quick run through, which you will be able to see. Already I have been giving it for past 5 weeks, and again this also will be continuing. So it would be hardly for 10 minutes, then we can get on with the session. So college, Alpha College of Engineering, this is located at Tirumalizai. So I am the principal of the college, Soumya. I have nearly 25 years of experience in academics as well as research field. And this is our college located at Tirumalizai, which is nearer to Pundamalli. The year of establishment of our college is 2006. It is built up in an area of 65 acres, and the built up area itself is 12 acres. And it is approved by AICTE and affiliated to Anna University. Our college has been certified by ISO 9001-2015 for its standard. We offer 5 UG programs, 4 in Bachelor of Engineering stream and 1 in Bachelor of Technology stream. That is Biomedical Engineering, Computer Science and Engineering, Electronics and Communication Engineering, and Mechanical Engineering in BE stream, and Information Technology under BTech stream. Then we have got PG program, that is Master of Business Administration. So our main aim is to make our student best in their chosen field. So whatever the entry level of these students, whether it is good or average or anything, we want them to be the best when they move out of our college. So that is what we aim to achieve. For that, we have got the student assisting unit, that is career development cell, entrepreneurship development cell, BEC training cell, SwissMem training, Pan IIT leadership series. So this career development cell, what we offer is your aptitude training will be given. That is both on quantitative and qualitative aptitude. Your analytical skills and reasoning would be taught in aptitude training, and the interpersonal skills which is required for you to perform in teamwork. So that also being taught to the students. Then soft skills, ultimately you want to present yourself better, and your posture, your language, your communication, everything comes under soft skills. So that soft skills training also we impart. With overall this aptitude training, interpersonal skills training, and soft skills training, we develop your overall personality. Then we go this entrepreneurship development cell. This is to make our student an employer instead of an employee. So we don't want you to just serve an institution. We want you to own an organization. So for that, we have this entrepreneurship development cell. This is connected with various prestigious institutions such as MSME, EDA, NEON, NACTUS, and so on. So what these organizations does for us is it helps our students to understand their level. The product or project they develop will be evaluated by these institutions, and they do help them in getting funding from government and other agencies. So the students can be very much in need of funds, so they can get it acquired and start their ventures. So that this entrepreneurship developments will take care of. Then business English certification, it is being provided by Cambridge University. This is an internationally acclaimed certification. It increases the employability of the students through improving their communication skills, because whatever knowledge you possess, unless you communicate to others, then it will not be useful. So all 4 skills of any language, that is listening, speaking, reading, and writing, especially in English, we do develop using this business English certification course. Then we've got the Center of Excellence for different departments. Cisco Laboratory, that is a CCNA certification laboratory. CCNA is meant for networking engineers. So networking, you know that through network only we do communicate now also, right? So this is an internet which covers all the people, connects all the people. So this networking certification is provided by Cisco, CCNA certification. So this we offer free of cost. It has got nearly 5 levels. Then this is mainly taken by CSE and IT engineers, and even ECE engineers prefer networking certification. If somebody from mechanical or biomedical also want this certification, they can also take up this course. Then we've got the Autodesk Inventor certification, that is a CAD, that is computer aided design certification provided by Autodesk, that is mainly meant for mechanical engineers. Then again, Oracle Academy we have tied up with. They provide Oracle Java programming and R programming certification. Then we have tied up with Dell EMC. They provide big data analytic design certification. So all these certification program is being offered free of cost by our college. We will not be charging you any. We will be giving you training for these certification courses. At the end, you will be taking up the test, and a certification will be provided by the respective agency. So these certifications are very much valid, and it is very valuable outside also. So not only in India, abroad also these certifications are valid. Then every student who wants to become an engineer, they want to go to IIT, because IIT is the topmost in engineering field. So everybody wants to get into Indian Institute of Technology. But the number of seats are limited. So the students may not end up in IIT. So if they do end up in our college, we want them to have a taste of IIT. So for that, we have tied up with Pan IIT Leadership Series. So this series, PALS tie-up, what it offers us is seminars from IIT professionals, IIT professors. Then we have got the competitions, intercollegiate competition conducted by IIT. In that, our students do participate. That is an Innova competition, and they can showcase the projects there, and the projects are evaluated, and they are awarded also. Then we've got residential workshops which occur at IIT itself. IIT has residential workshop. So our students go and stay in IIT for a span of 5 to 7 days. Excuse me. So they stay there, and there they have projects done. Then they are staying there. The projects are given by the IIT professors, and those projects they work on, and they give their projects. Then industrial visits, they do visit industries. These industrial visits are arranged by PALs themselves. So leading industries, they will be taking our students too. Then SwissMem certification, as you know, that there are two precise engineering countries. One is Germany and another is Switzerland. They are pioneers in engineering. So they have been a wonderful job in engineering field. So we wanted to tie up with those leading engineering countries. So we have tied up with Switzerland. We offer SwissMem certification with SwissMem, which is an leading technical association for engineering industries in Switzerland. Through them, we offer two courses. One is machine learning and mechatronics. So at this pandemic time, machine learning and mechatronics both are important because mechatronics is nothing but a combination of electronics and mechanical. So what happens is with mechanical parts, they will be very big. And if you want to have a shaft or something moved, that would be very difficult with the mechanical parts alone. So when you join electronics into it, the size of the mechanical parts becomes very small. So whatever you want to do, if it is going to be a robotics, robot you want to design, what you can do is you can take up the mechatronics course. So this mechatronics course, what it helps you in is you can create the mechanical movement through electronics. That is what is happening. So embedded systems are part of it. So we teach our students these embedded systems where the mechanical movement is achieved through electronics. So those electronics, they need it to be programmed with programming engineers. So all engineers are part of this mechatronics learning. And machine learning is machine learns on its own. It doesn't require the human intervention. So if you say a robot to move forward, it will move forward. But if it automatically thinks of moving forward, then that becomes machine learning. It learns from its experience where to go and what to do. So that experience and knowledge, if you provide a machine, then it becomes machine learning. So both of these would be very helpful, as you know very well that humanoid robots are serving the corona-affected, COVID-affected patients. So these two courses we offer our students free of cost. Again, the certification is not provided by us alone. This is provided by SwissMem Switzerland. And we offer online training courses through SkillRack. So this helps them improve their problem-solving skills and programming skills. So what ultimately happens is they perform well in their competitive exams. Then our college achievements. Our college stood at 40th rank in top 100 engineering colleges in India. Our student Malavika Nair, 2018 batch, she received the gold medal and university first rank. And this is her photograph of her taking her gold medal from Honorable Governor Banwarilal Purohit. And we got Teaching Excellence Award in the year 2019 for our service to teaching. Then consistently we have been achieving university ranks and gold medals. And our students and staff, they get their projects through AICTE, ISRO. These are funded projects. And Tamil Nadu State Council for Science and Technology. The project you don't do on your own, you have to pay and get the components. When you do a funded project through government agency, what happens is the funded project will be funded by the government, and you would be doing your projects using those funds. Then we have got internship both in India and abroad for our students. And industrial training also we offer our students. Consistently, we have been achieving placement of 100%. And our students have won project awards as well for the projects. And our students been doing higher studies in India and abroad, mainly in North America, that is Canada and US, and Europe. We have excellent sports facilities. The grounds are spacious. We have got football ground, 2 cricket grounds, basketball ground, everything we've got. And our students have won gold medals in zonal and state levels. And one of our students been selected for national level representation of Anna University. And we offer our student scholarship. SCSC students, there would be 100% tuition fee waiver. And first graduate, there is a concession of 25,000. And merit scholarship for students scoring 90% in MPC. More than 90% in MPC will be having a slab of scholarship, and another slab is for 75% and above. So our learning environment, if you see, it is very friendly. We have got friendly faculty members who are well trained and they are dedicated as well. And teaching staff, you know that they are friendly, as I've told you, and non-teaching staff as well, they are well behaved and very polite. So it is an amicable learning environment. We invite all of you to join our college. So Alpha College of Engineering is actually a home away from home. So because you can see that your staff are very cordial and they will be helping you in whatever you want to learn. So you will feel at home when you join Alpha College of Engineering. We welcome all of you to join Alpha College of Engineering. And during this epidemic time, we want you to stay home, stay informed, and stay safe. Thank you. Over to you, Sujata ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for your presentation. Now I request Tamil Selvi, ma'am, to handle the session of day 2 today. Over to Tamil Selvi, ma'am. Tamil Selvi, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Ma'am, over
am I
to you.
audible?
Yes, ma'am. Now you are audible.
Yes. Thank you. So welcome back, dear students. So good morning, happy morning to everybody. As ma'am said, today is solar eclipse, so you have to stay indoors. So this workshop will make you to stay indoors till 1 o'clock. After that, just half an hour, so you can cross this solar eclipse very safe. So now, before going into the workshop, at the outset, I want to thank our management, Chairperson ma'am, Vice Chairperson ma'am, and Senior Operations Executive Mr. George John. So who have been very supportive for this to conduct this workshop. And also, I need to thank our principal ma'am, who is very encouraging, and amongst her busy schedule, whenever I call her, she will answer me immediately. So I thank you, principal ma'am. And also, I thank Sujata ma'am, who is a senior professor in electronics department, and she is actually coordinating this workshop from the beginning. And not only this, she is managing the CBC also in our college, and she is also a busy person. Amongst all these support, I take very immense pleasure to thank all of them, because without them, I could not have been association with the younger minds. So with this, I think I can go inside the workshop, the session today. So and one more thing, in Alpha College of Engineering, as ma'am said that it is home away from home. So actually, I want to add some more points here in our college. Starting from the principal to the office staff, so everybody is very actually they move with the students in a pleasant manner, and in our college, the students don't fear the principal, but they give respect, and they love the principal because she is so conducive that even any student can walk in to her room, so at a given particular time, and they can express anything, because she wants ultimately the students' welfare only. So she looks into the students' welfare. And also, all the faculties are, even now in this pandemic situation also, they take utmost care that the students are studying, and they are safe, they are stay safe, because every time they used to contact the students, and then they inquire about their wellness, and we are giving coaching, we are conducting tests, we are actually still teaching at any time the students want. So this is a very conducive atmosphere for you to study in Alpha Engineering College, Alpha College of Engineering. So I request everybody, those among your friends and relatives, whoever is studying +2, you just refer them to Alpha College of Engineering. Once they can come and see our college, and the very atmosphere itself will make you to want of study in Alpha College of Engineering. Okay. So now, today we are going to see complex numbers, right?
So complex numbers, actually it is so it is all about negative numbers. So what is a bad thing about negative numbers? Why it is said imaginary? Because see, till 18th century, people did not accept negative numbers because they don't like, in some countries they don't like negative numbers. But when they started making account of the money, so suppose if you have, if I have given you 5 rupees and after some days you have repaid me 3 rupees, whatever you have, that is 3 rupees, but still you have to give me 2 rupees. So there only starts the negative number. That is, your account will have -2 according to me. So that time the negative numbers started, the importance of negative numbers arose in that time. So now when they introduce the negative numbers, okay, so we have seen many sets. That is, there are numbers are divided into some sets: integers, whole numbers, rational numbers, irrational, transcendental, like that. But then when they started to solve the polynomials, so when it came for cubic polynomials, so there arised root of -1. Even in quadratic equation also, when you solve, so if you have the discriminant is less than 0, so you will land up with root of a negative number. So when you see that root of a negative number, everything got stuck. So until Gauss came, so he invented, he named this root of -1 as I and proceeded to solve. That is, see, no obstacle should be there for the development. So that is why the complex, and after the introduction of the number I, which is root of -1, then everything, even the world has got some revolution. So with the invention of complex number. So complex numbers play a very important role in our today's technological world. So now it all started by people taking square root of numbers and see, suppose if you want to determine the dimensions of a rectangle with a perimeter of 7 centimeter and an area of 5 centimeter squared. So perimeter is 2 into L plus B and area of the rectangle is L into B. So if you want to find out the dimension, then how will you find out? How will you find out the dimension? Of course, you have to solve this quadratic equation, 2a square minus 7a plus 10 equal to 0. So where a is either length or breadth, you can take. So L in L. Now, so when you solve this, you can see here b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. So which means that under the root, you will get a negative number. And also, this is also another example wherein you have the perimeter as 5 centimeter and the area as 2 centimeters. So this also will lead you to one quadratic equation wherein you get the discriminant b square minus 4ac is less than 0. So taking the square root of a negative number is really crucial. Now, so first in modern day, actually now in Persia, it is now called as Iran. So there were two people, Omar Khayyam and Sharaf al-Din al-Tusi. So both of these discovered partial solutions for the cubic formula. Actually, in quadratic equation will have a formula, but for cubic equation, there is a formula like, so that was partially developed by these two people. And also, so if you have the cubic equation, x cube plus mx squared equal to n, instead of x cube plus mx equals, that is, if you have the square here, so then this is a very hard thing to solve. So in those days, competition were being conducted, and those who solve this problem will get a monetary reward. So like that, because those days every people thought of mathematics or solution, puzzle, riddle, like that. So even in ancient India also, you can hear if you talk with your grandma and grandpa, many of the riddles they will pose. So their brain was very much aligned to always thinking. But nowadays, the thinking is stopped. So that is what we have seen. We are seeing because of Google, right? So when Google comes, see, if you have some doubts, what is the root of 13? Immediately you go to Google and you ask what is root of 13, it will give you the answer. So that means our brain has stopped thinking. But in those days, so that is why there have been actually many inventions came in ancient days. So after the silicon has been invented, so I think totally the invention has gone into some revolution like technological development. So we do only develop on the basis of something. So now, this is actually a somewhat of cubic formula. So if you want to solve this x cube minus 7x plus 6, x will be cube root of 1 by 2 minus 6 plus. So this is a partial solution of that cubic formula. So now, so even after that, the people did not accept complex numbers. So when René Descartes worked especially on the coordination system, for Cartesian coordinate system. Cartesian coordinate system is nothing but if you draw an horizontal axis, name it as x-axis, and draw a vertical axis, name it as y-axis. So x and y. So any point, if you want to plot in that plane, you write it as x comma y as a coordinate. So x is the distance from x-axis and y is the perpendicular distance from y-axis. So after he introduced the coordinate system, then so people thought about everything posing inside a graph. So then the works got speeded up. So in 1799, Gauss proved fundamental theorem of algebra, that is, every non-constant polynomial with complex coefficients as a complex root. And also complex root, if it occurs, it will occur in as complex pairs, conjugate pairs. That is, if a plus ip is a root, then a minus ip also will be a root. So these mathematicians contributed to the development of complex numbers. Bombelli introduced the symbol I, and when Girard said that its solution is impossible, Gauss called it as a complex number. So that is why this field has come into effect. Now, when you combine the real number plus imaginary number, will give you a complex number. So imaginary number is nothing but root of -1. Now, so these things actually, that is equal to a plus bi. A is called as real part. B is called as imaginary part. So whenever you want to write down the imaginary part in 4 plus 3i, you should not write it as 3i. You should write it as 3. So imaginary part is only b. I is root of -1. Now, as I told you, in the number system, you can see real number is divided into irrational and rational numbers, and again, rational numbers are divided into natural numbers, whole numbers, and integers. So where does complex number? So only with the real plus imaginary number, you get complex number. So the complex number system, imaginary numbers don't come under real number, but when you combine both real number and imaginary number, you get a complex number. So now the real part can be even 0 also. That means any real number. See, this 5 is you can say it is a real number, but still you can refer it to as a complex number, because the real part you can say it is 5, imaginary part is 0. And -6i is a purely imaginary number, but still you can say it as a 0 minus 6. That is, it is a complex number. Still you can refer to it as a complex number. That is 0 in real part and -6 is the imaginary part. So now you can see it in graph. So this is actually, it is a 2-dimensional, real and imaginary, real axis. Now coordinate system has got x-axis and y-axis. In complex number, we call the x-axis as a real axis and y-axis as the imaginary axis. So any point on this plane will be denoted as a plus iba. That is, a is real part and b is imaginary part. So of course we use horizontal axis as real and vertical axis as imaginary part. Now complex number, why it is useful? Actually, when you have an abstract equation, so if with the introduction of I, we can see some physical characteristics of that equation. So to visualize into physical things, complex numbers are very useful. So now you can see that, see, x squared is minus 1. So if x squared is equal to minus 1, now take the square root on both sides, you will get root of minus 1. So x will be equal to root of minus 1. This minus 1, root of minus 1 is defined as I. It is denoted as I equal to root of minus 1, whereas I squared will be minus 1. So now what is a complex conjugate? So complex conjugate, if z is equal to x plus iy, now the complex conjugate is denoted by z star. Now z star, what is z star? You just change the sign of the imaginary part. That is, if it is positive, we change into negative. If it is negative, we change it into positive. So now you can take the modulus or absolute value. So that is defined by root of x squared plus y squared. So here you can see that this is the real axis, this is the imaginary axis. Now z is equal to x plus iy. Only the conjugate is the reflection along the x-axis. That is, from the positive side, it is going to the actually negative side of y. So x remains positive. X remains positive. This is the complex conjugate. So z bar will be x minus iy. This plus y will be mapped onto minus y. So minus y will be the reflection of this one. So this actually you can call it as 1 by z. So 1 by z is z bar by mod z square. So this is the complex conjugate. So the complex numbers are actually it is a combination of two subsets of real numbers. So it is subset of real numbers for a whole number, real numbers plus imaginary numbers. So two sets are united and we form the complex number. And this is the Argand diagram. So Argand actually we want some graphical representation for anything for our brain to understand. So this you are taking it as real part A, and you draw the perpendicular. Suppose if you want to find out a point that is equal to A comma B. So within the bracket you write A comma B. That means A distance from the x-axis, perpendicular distance, and B perpendicular distance from the y-axis. And this is actually this diagonal line is equal to mod z, because when you say this is A and this is B, applying Pythagoras theorem, you get this is root of A squared plus B squared. That is the distance from the origin of that point. So here actually 1 plus, so 1 can be written as 1 plus 0 I. So this is actually the extension from real numbers. So real numbers can be extended to complex numbers, because any number can be written as that number plus 0 times I. So then it can be extended to the complex numbers also. That is what we have seen here. So when we say that two complex numbers are equal, so when see the real part should be equal and the imaginary part should be equal. That is, A should be equal to C and B should be equal to D. So two real numbers are said to be equal only when the real parts they themselves are equal and the imaginary parts are equal. Then only call two numbers are equal. Now, how do you do operations in complex number? See, always the number line is very interesting and easy to understand. So that is why I often take this example. So when we want to add two numbers in the number line, so you go back to your earlier classes, that is the primary section. Now when child wants to add two numbers, either it opens the fingers, two in the hand, three in the mind, like that, and then it adds. So, and also this is another method, that is, if you want to add 2 plus 3 equal to 5, you know, from the origin you go for 2 units, and from there on you count another 3 units, and whatever the number you land up, that is the answer. And even the same thing for subtraction also, that is 2 plus minus 3 means, so first go 2 units forward and then come 3 units backward. So then you will land up in a negative number, that is minus 1. So this is how we do in real numbers. Now a similar thing can be done in complex numbers also. So in complex numbers, you can see you want to add 2 plus 2y plus 3 plus 3y. So what do you do? So now 2 plus 2y, you just plot this point. So this point is 2 plus 2y. That is 2 units from x-axis and 2 perpendicular units from y-axis. So you point. And then from taking this as your origin, again you count 3 and take a perpendicular, that is 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 unit. So take the perpendicular, you mark this point. And then similarly you do this for y-axis also, that is the imaginary axis also. So 5 you, so this is 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 unit. So you move 3 units vertically upward, and then draw the go for perpendicular distance. This will become this is the point when you add these two numbers. So that will be 5 plus 5. So always will it lie on the same line, same straight line? Yes, let us see. So if you have, see here, you can see that this is 2, this is also 2, this is 3, this is also 3. Suppose if it changes, 2 plus 3 or 4 plus 2, like that. So what happens? So how will you find out the addition? So it will never be the same number, isn't it? A will not be equal to B always. So here 3 plus I plus 2 plus 4I. What happens? So actually your first you're plotting this point, that is 3 units from the origin, and for I part 1 unit you have to go. So this is your point, and taking this as the origin, and then go further for 2 units. So after 3, 4, 5, 2 units, and then go the perpendicular distance. So this will be your real part. And then similarly, so from here you go upwards. How many units? 5 units you need. 4 units. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 units. And then draw the perpendicular. So you will land up here. So this is the way you add any two complex number in a graph. Now, so actually this is actually the addition of vectors in parallelogram of forces, because if you add the vector, actually OA, suppose if you call it as OA and B, so OA plus OB will be equal to OB, isn't it? OA plus AB will be equal to OB. So that this is exactly equal to the adding two vectors. So this is how you add in the complex field. Now similarly, multiplication. So multiplying 2 and 3 on the number line. How will you multiply? Count 2 for 3 times continuously. So from 0 you count 2, and then from 2 again you count 2, and from 4 you again count 2. So you will get 6. So this is how you count in the real number system. So in the complex number, what you do? Suppose if you want to multiply, the same thing you can do. That is 3 times 2 plus 2I will be 6 plus 6I, isn't it? So 2 and so it will be the same. 2 plus 2I, when you multiply 3 times, so you just multiply separate line you can take, and then you get 6 plus 6I. Now suppose if you want to multiply by -1, what happens? So what you do is, you just do the same thing in the real line on the positive side, and you rotate to 180 degrees. So that will give you minus of that one. So that will give you multiplication of -1. So when you rotate to 180 degrees, you can you can multiply this minus 1. So whatever you want, if you want to multiply that minus sign, you can take outside. So first do these things and then give a rotation, you will get the correct answer. So this is how you do multiplication of complex numbers. Now, so suppose in 2 dimensions, so what will you do? So you rotate just one right angle. Okay, what does it mean? Actually, if you turn, it is the same as multiplying by minus 1. That is, if you turn 90 degrees, it is same as multiplying by minus 1. Then turning a single right angle requires multiplying by number that gives us minus 1. Isn't it? So now if you rotate your angle to counterclockwise, that is, it is considered to be I, multiplication by I, whereas doing clockwise, it is multiplying by minus I. So this actually works for all the points in the complex plane. Now suppose, for example, if you want to multiply I with one complex number, let us see what happens in the graph. See here, you have, this is 4 plus 3i. So this point is 4 plus 3i. Now I want to multiply by I. So which means this is root of multiplying counterclockwise. Actually, if you rotate counterclockwise, it is like multiplying by I. Multiplying by I. So this will go here. I into 4 plus 3i. That is, you will be getting minus 3. Okay, so the real part will become minus 3 and the imaginary part will become plus 4i. So when you rotate like this, it happens to be changing the real and imaginary part. Okay, so this is how, and if you again go beyond, that is 180 degrees if you turn, it becomes I square. So you will get this part. In this quadrant, you will be getting the answer. So now the traditional way, how you have learned in the school. So here we have to see, because for further reading, this recap is essential. A plus bi plus c plus di, you know that 2 real parts are being added and 2 imaginary parts are being added. So the so here graphically also you can do it. Okay, so this is a very basic thing. And now see, there are some properties we need to know for the complex number. So the addition of complex numbers satisfy all the properties, because whenever you want, you propose a theory. So these things are actually, it is mandatory that we have to prove that all these laws are satisfied, because from the childhood days you have been studying that 2 plus 3 equal to 5, and you will never relate that even the addition also becomes an integer. So when you add 2 integers, the result also is an integer. And in any way you can add either 2 plus 3 or 3 plus 2 will give you the same answer. So this is not with all the numbers. For example, a set of matrices. So 2 by 2 matrices or 3 by 3 matrices, this law will, one of the laws will fail. So that is why. So these laws actually it has to be known by every student. So if actually I am of that opinion, we have to introduce modern algebra in high school itself. That is even in the 6th standard itself. Because so we have to realize that these laws are satisfied by our integers, set of integers, whatever we are learning. So plus set of positive integers, set of negative integers, and then multiplication of in that addition, multiplication, everything we are doing without realizing some important aspects. So those aspects here in complex numbers we shall see. That is the closure law. So when you add 2 complex numbers, it should be again a complex number. So Z1 plus Z2 is a complex number for all complex numbers Z1 and Z2. Then commutative. So commutative law is, see, in either way you can add, you will get the same result. Associative law. Associative law, if you are given 3 numbers, either it is your choice whether to add first 2 numbers and then add third number, or you add say two last two numbers and then you add the first number. Both will be the same. Then of course additive identity. See, what do you mean by the identity? Additive identity. Additive identity is a number when it is added to any number will result in the same number itself. That is z plus 0 equal to z. That is, you are doing some addition but without affecting the number itself. So that is called as additive identity. And additive inverse. Additive inverse depends upon additive identity. So when you add two numbers, you should get the result as the additive identity. That is, you are adding z and minus z. So to see the result as 0. So this is called additive inverse. Z plus minus z. So minus z is the additive inverse of z. So these properties are very important, and of course it has been proved that complex numbers follow all these laws. Then only you can further develop into many applications. So when you want to have applications, it is necessary that these laws to be followed. Now, subtraction. So subtraction, we know a plus bi minus c plus bi. So you have to subtract the real part and separately and subtract the imaginary part separately. So now multiplication. So multiplication we have seen in graphs, and manually if you want to multiply, so here you have to do this a into c and b into d into I square. So this I squared give 1. So that is why AC, so negative I squared is real number. So that is why this minus BD is added to this part, AC minus B. Plus here you have only the addition, AD plus BC times I. So this is a multiplication of complex numbers. Even multiplication also follows all these laws. So whatever the law we have seen for addition, the laws are suitable for multiplication also. So closure law, that is whenever you multiply two complex numbers, you again get a complex. So you actually, that is the closure law, that is it is closed. Still it is in that set itself. So complex number, it is a set. It is a set of real numbers and imaginary numbers. So this set, any two, in that set, if you take two elements and then you multiply, again, you will end up in the complex number itself. Then commutative law. So commutative law means either way you can multiply z1 into z2 or z2 into z1 are correct. And of course, associative law, z1, z2, z3, and anyway, if you multiply, you will get the same answer. Now, for as far as multiplicative identity is concerned, see, you need one number which, when multiplied to any other number, the result should be the same. So that into 1 equal to z. So that number is called as multiplicative identity. That is 1. So here the number is called as 1. Now multiplicative inverse. How will you find the multiplicative inverse? So that also should be a complex number. So when for multiplication, we know the reverse process is division. So if you want to find out the multiplicative identity for a complex number z, so naturally 1 by z should be the multiplicative inverse, because when you multiply z into 1 by z, you will get z1 itself, 1 as the result. So z times 1 by z will be equal to 1. This can be proved by a plus ip, that is taking z as a plus ip also, and 1 by z also a plus ip, and take the conjugate. When you a plus ip into 1 by a plus ip, so 1 a plus ip, you take the multiply and divide by conjugate, and you will be resulted, you will be get the result as a by a square plus b square, plus the imaginary part as minus b by a square plus b square. So z into 1 by z is actually equal to 1. So now also the distributive law. So for any three given complex number, distributive law also is satisfied. Z1 into Z2 plus Z3 can be written as Z1 into Z2 plus Z1 into Z3, left as well as right. So both work for any complex number. So either you do it like this. First multiply the two numbers Z1, Z2 and then multiply Z1, Z3, then add these two. This will be equal to the left hand side. So this is the distributive law that also is satisfied. Now division of a complex number. So when you want to divide two complex number, A plus IB by C plus IB, then what you have to do? You have to multiply the conjugate of C plus IB. So why? Because why we are doing this multiplication and division by the complex conjugate. By the way, any doubt so far? Students, do you have any doubts? Slide 35. Yes, Vishnu Prasad. Yeah, I will give you. Again, I will go to, you want me to explain slide 35? Yes. Multiplicative. Okay, you asked for multiplicative identity. Okay, so multiplicative identity. Actually, the existence of multiplicative identity means if you have a complex number, and when you want to do the operation multiplication, but the number should not get affected. The value of the number should not get affected. So what is that number? So in addition, if you add 0 to any number, the number will not change. Similarly, when you multiply 1, and we have already seen that any real number is again a complex number because it is 1 plus 0. It can be denoted as 1 plus 0. This multiplicative identity also should be a complex number. That is the main fact here. That is, whatever the identity or inverse you are bringing in, that should belong to the same set itself. So, many sets actually regarding sets, if you say all these laws are satisfied, then you call it as a group. Closure law, commutative law, associative law, existence of multiplicative identity and inverse. So group, there is a actually concept called group, so which is very much essential in your computer programming. Like when you go for study for network security and all, this group is applied. Group law is applied. So so for that you need all these laws. Okay, you cannot take any set for particular application. So it has to be a group or semi-group or monoid as per the context requirement. So actually, to understand the group well, see now, suppose if we shall take the set of +2 students. So all the students who have completed +2, so they are in a set. You can put all the students in Tamil Nadu, so they belong to one set of +2 completed students. Suppose if they want to come to, if they have to come to the third year of any engineering, say for example computer science engineering, they want to sit in that class. So they should have completed 2 years of computer science engineering or 4 semesters of computer science engineering. Then only they will be eligible to sit in the third year of computer science engineering class. So that means there some conditions has to be satisfied for those set of students. So then you call those students as group. Simply you cannot say all +2 students you are in a group. Okay. So for that, so for a set to become a group, you need all these laws. Even for complex numbers also, so you can have the set of complex numbers, and it is of course a group under the operation multiplication. Why? Because it satisfies all these laws. And a very particular group of complex number is set of all 1 minus 1, I minus I. So this is a group which is very important in group theory and application of group theory. Okay. So multiplicative identity is Z times 1 is equal to Z. Have I cleared your doubt? Somebody asked a doubt. I hope I have cleared your doubt. This is the doubt you asked. I forgot the name also. I'm unable to see the chat also. Students, you can share in chat box if you have any doubts, or I have cleared your doubt also. Yes? Okay. So this is called multiplication, and of course multiplicative inverse is Z into 1 by Z. That is, you should get the identity, multiplicative identity as a result when you multiply two numbers. So then that second number, two numbers, no, Z into something, so that number is called multiplicative inverse of Z. And multiplicative inverse is unique for each number. Whereas in a group, you have only one multiplicative identity. For all the numbers, one is the multiplicative identity. But for every number Z, 1 by that number itself is a multiplicative inverse. So it is not that inverse is unique. One inverse exists for a group. It is not like that. So the inverse will exist only for a number, and for a given number, the inverse will be unique. There is only one inverse, and for a group on the whole, you have multiplicative identity as only one number. Okay, I hope it is clarified. Now next. So now we are in the division process, isn't it? So a plus bi. So I asked you a question: why we have to multiply this c minus di? That is the complex conjugate of the denominator. Why not the numerator? So this is the question. Can anybody answer me? See, why you are concentrating only on the denominator? C plus id. So c minus id you are multiplying, and the c minus id you are dividing, so that you are multiplying by 1 only. Hence, the left hand side, the value of the left hand side will not change. Okay, that is understood. Now my question is, why we have to multiply only with the denominator but not with the numerator, conjugate of the numerator? So what is the theory behind that? Can anybody tell me? Students, are you there? Am I talking to only the computer or to the students?
Participants, please respond. Ma'am, Ruben has replied, ma'am.
Nobody has replied. Okay.
Ruben has replied.
Oh,
Ruben,
huh? Yes, ma'am.
he said he has already replied.
There, I am unable to see the chat box again.
Imaginary part cannot be in the denominator, so we multiply by its conjugate.
See, it is not very good, Ruben. It is not that cannot be in the denominator. Actually, if you want to separate real and imaginary part, so it will be easy if you eliminate the imaginary part from the denominator. Okay, so that is the answer. So now, so this is what we are doing: c squared plus b squared. Okay. Because when you have some imaginary part in the denominator, then again you cannot separate this into real and imaginary part in the denominator alone. So that is why, to eliminate the imaginary part from the denominator, you are multiplying by the complex conjugate. Okay. So this is one example. Of course, so when you want to find out separate real and imaginary part, you can 6 minus 7i by 1 minus 2i. So this you can write it as 1 minus 2, the conjugate of this denominator, number denominator, multiply and divide, and then you finally arrive the answer. So the real part is 4 and the imaginary part is 1. Okay, 5 by 2. So 4 plus I. This is the answer for this division. So whenever you want to divide two complex numbers, so you need to do this conjugate the concept. Okay. So now, so what when you raise the power of I, so what happens? See here, I cubed. What is I cubed? I squared into I. There is one more easier way to remember what is I power k that I will show you after certain slides. So I cubed is equal to, you can write it as I squared into I. I squared is minus 1 times I. So that will be minus I. So I cubed is minus I. So what is I power 4? It is plus 1. So I power 4 is plus 1. Then I power 5. I power 5 will be I squared whole squared into I. That is I squared whole squared is nothing but I power 4. I power 4 is minus 1 plus 1. So plus 1 into I will be I. Again I power 6. I power 6 is minus 1 like this. So and we have I inverse. So what is 1 by I? 1 by I, as you said, you have to multiply and divide by the denominator if you have a complex imaginary part in the denominator. So that imaginary part, you just I into, see, either you can multiply by minus I into minus I, so both are same. Multiply and divide by minus I, it is same, isn't it? So you either you do that or I by I. So I by I means it is minus I of it. Now what is I power minus 2? That is 1 by I squared. 1 by I squared is 1 by minus 1. That is minus 1. Similarly, I power minus 3. That is plus I. When I cube is minus I power minus 3 is plus I. But I power minus 4 is again plus 1. So you can see that I squared is minus 1 and I power minus 2 also is minus 1. Isn't it? So for even numbers, it will be the same. Only for odd numbers, it will be opposite. So that is why this general formula, I power 4k equal to 1, I power 4k plus 1 is equal to I. So 4 times if you multiply, then you will get. So this I have given another table in that it will be very clearly understood. So now coming to complex plane. So complex plane. So what do you mean by a complex plane? Actually, so far we have been working in coordinate plane. But now we are moving to complex plane itself. So for a complex plane, you have a you should have this different representation. That is, see, along the x-axis and y-axis, if you want to move from real to imaginary, only theta gives that shift. So you need a theta here. That is the angle of inclination of this particular point z is equal to x plus iy. So this is theta, and mod z. This is the position vector. As we have been studying that this is similar to vectors. So you can say that this is a position vector that is denoted as r. So mod z, modulus of z can be denoted as r, so that we can easily convert this go into the polar coordinates. So that is why this is being studied. So what is mod z? Mod z is the distance of the point z from the origin, and theta is the angle from the positive x-axis to the line OP. Now that theta is given by tan inverse of imaginary part by real part. So that is how this theta is done. Why? How? Because we have already seen in differentiation what is tan theta. Tan theta is opposite side by adjacent side. Opposite side is y and adjacent side is x. So tan theta equal to y by x. What is theta? Take the inverse on both sides. So that will give you tan inverse of y by x. So theta is called the argument of z, and whereas theta actually it is denoted by argument of z, arg z, tan inverse of y by x. Okay. So that should not be 0, and that is another thing. Now, so expressing complex number in polar form. So it is actually we take this assumption x equal to r cos theta, y equal to r sin theta. Okay. So because of that, so that geometry here. So if you find sin theta will be opposite side by what is sin theta? So this is sin theta is y by r, cos theta is x by r. So from this we are getting x equal to r cos theta and y is equal to r sin theta. So any complex number, if you write it as x plus iy, it can be written as r cos theta plus I into r sin theta. Okay. So this is the polar form of any complex number, r cos theta plus I into r sin theta. Now this is a complex plane. So you have the real axis, you have the imaginary axis, and here you have the theta. So this is your theta, and any number, any point can be written as plotted as coordinates 6, 6. So from x axis, or what is the distance? From y axis, what is the distance? Now, this is a very important theorem in complex number, de Moivre's theorem. So what is de Moivre's theorem? See here, every time if you write r cos theta plus I sin theta, then so what happens? So actually some complexity they feel. So therefore, actually here 1 equal to is missing. Cos theta plus I sin theta whole power n equal to cos n theta plus I sin n theta. This is what de Moivre gave. And he also proved that actually if you can extend this also, r into cos theta plus I sin theta whole power n equal to r power n into cos n theta plus I sin n theta. So this and de Moivre, when de Moivre gave this formula, so like cos theta plus I sin theta, when you want to multiply n times, you simply multiply the argument. That will be the answer. So it is equal to multiplying the argument. So you need not go. See, when you want to multiply a plus ib cos theta plus I sin theta into cos theta plus I sin theta into cos theta plus I sin theta, etc. It goes on. So if you want to multiply 10 times, it is really a hard task. So instead, you can just multiply the argument by that n. So if you want a whole cube, you can put here as 3 theta, here also 3 theta. Then both are equal. It is also a proved formula. Now what did Euler do? He further simplified it. So how did he simplify? Actually, he represented this cos phi plus I sin phi as e power to further simplify, and this is a beautiful relationship between cos, sin and phi. Actually, so this representation, so e power I phi, this exponential, actually this was proved by the series of sin and cos. So there is an infinite series. You can check in your Google, or some of you would have studied about sin x. Sin x, what is the series of infinite series represented by sin x and cos x? So in that, actually that is related to e power x. So if you add the series, infinite series of cos theta and sin theta, infinite series of sin theta, by multiplying I with the series of sin theta, then you add, you will be getting e to the power of I theta, I phi. Okay, so the series of this will be equal to the series. So that is why Euler gave this formula as r cos phi plus I sin phi as r into e power I phi. So you can see in a unit circle, this can be represented. So e power I phi is equal to cos phi plus I sin phi, where phi is the angle from the x-axis to the line OP. And this adjacent side is cos phi, opposite side is sin phi. So this is the thing. So this is known as complex exponential function. So z is equal to x plus iy. E power z is equal to e power x. Raising both to e, you can separate because the indices are the base are same, means you can separate e power x into e power iy. That is e power x. This e power iy can be written as cos y plus I sin y. Okay, so e power z can be written like this: e power x into e power cos y plus I sin y. That is how this is written. Now, so the you just see, instead of I, even you can represent j also, where j is root of -1. It is not that every time we are going to use I, because when you apply in electronics and all, so those books, textbooks, you can see only j. instead of 5. So mod z, so z is equal to 1 minus j means mod z will be root of real part square plus imaginary part square. And the argument of z is tan inverse of imaginary part by real part plus 2n pi. Of course, here we have to add, that is the period. Hence, principal argument will be minus pi by 4. Principal will be minus pi by 4 because tan inverse of 1 is pi by 4 and tan inverse of minus 1 is minus pi by 4. But since it is periodic function, you have to add 2n pi. Okay. So in polar form, it is represented as root 2 e power minus j into pi by 4. R is root of r is this one root 2. So root 2 into cos pi by 4 minus j sin pi by 4 is the value of 1 minus j. So you know what is cos pi by 4. You know what is sin pi by 4. Then so that real numerical value will be given to this complex number. Okay. So now, as I told you in the starting, you have the quadratic equation. So when imaginary root of an equation, if it exists, that is, if it is less than 0, you can say this as 4ac minus b squared, because if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, you can change this into 4ac minus b squared into root minus 1. That root of minus 1, you write it as I. So this is how you are getting. Now, so as I told you, so to represent I power n, how to easily remember what is I power n? So immediately you have to answer. Now, our actually we need to remember only for 4 values. So what is I power 0, what is I cube, what is I squared, what is I power 1. So if you remember only 4 values, whatever the number n can be, you can easily give the answer. How? Now you divide this power by 4. 5 divides by 4 and take the remainder. So how many 4s are there in 5? Only 1. 1 and the remainder will be 1. So take only the remainder. This is called modular arithmetic. So the modular arithmetic you see. So the you will get the remainder whenever you divide any number by 4. You get only 4 reminders, either 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. This is called mod 4. So the reminders you get for any k value. That is, if you divide any number by any integer, given integer k, you will get only k minus 1 reminders, not more than that. Okay, so for 4, you will be getting only 4 reminders. Whatever be the number, you divide and get the remainder. See, even 12, if you divide by 4, you will be getting the remainder as 0. And 11, if you divide by 4, you will be getting the remainder as 3. So it is enough for you to remember only these 4 values. I power 0, of course, you know it is 1. And I power 1 is I. And I squared is minus 1. I cubed is minus I. So when you remember all these 4 values, then it is easy for you to find out what is I power raised to any n for that matter. So this is one interesting thing we observe in the power of I. I hope this will be useful for you whenever you want to raise to the power of I. So, and also any root of I has multiple unique solutions. So it has got multiple solutions. For example, the cube root of I will have 3 unique solutions. There will be only 3 solutions. So like this. See, root 1, it can be plus 1 or it can be minus 1. Why? Because root 1, so what is the square root? When you multiply twice the same number, whatever if you get that 1, then that will be called as root. So 1 into 1 also will give you 1, and minus 1 into minus 1 also will give you 1. So that is why the square root of 1 is 1 or minus 1. Either it can be 1 or minus 1. Now, but for I, when you take the root of minus 1, okay, see, 1 you can take the root, you are getting plus 1 or minus 1. For I, what is I? I is root of minus 1. If you want to take root I, so what happens? So that means you need a polynomial equation. So what is that? See, if you want to find cube root of I, cube root of I is again a complex number, x plus iy, isn't it? Then fourth root of I is also again a complex number. And fifth root of I is also a complex number. So start with, see, suppose if you take the cube root and you are cubing it, you will end up in I. What is I? It is root of minus 1. What is root of minus 1? It is a complex number, x plus iy, the whole cubed. And you multiply this by again 1. That is root of I power 4, and here this is equal to I. So this is equal to root of minus 1. So like this, so you will be getting it as x plus iy the whole power 5. So this is an equation. So like this, if you form the equation and you try to solve, so the third root of I, that is cube root of I, will have these 3 unique solutions. That is root of 3 by 4 or root 3 by 2 plus 1 by 2i, or it is root 3 plus 1 by 2 root 3 plus I by 2, and minus of root 3 by 4 plus 1 by 2 into I and minus I. So these are the roots you are getting. Okay. Then, so what is the relationship between sine, cosine, and exponential? So sine x, actually this again, it is again proved by taking the series of sine, infinite series of sine, infinite series of cos, and infinite series of tan. So sine x is related as e power ix minus e power minus ix by 2i. So when you try to write down the infinite series of e power ix, what is e power x? X is 1 plus that is 1 plus x by 1 factorial plus x squared by 2 factorial plus x cubed by 3 factorial, etc. So that is e power x. Ix means you, instead of x, you put ix. So e power ix minus e power minus ix by 2i is proved to be sin x, and 2i by e power ix minus e power minus ix is cosecant x, because we know that 1 by sin is cosecant. Similarly, cos is you have to add e power ix plus e power minus ix by 2. So add and this one. Okay. So this is the relationship between sine, cosine, and exponential. And there is a beautiful relation between E, phi, and I. So they are all related to one another, and this relation is used in many of the engineering applications. It finds many engineering applications, the relationship. So let us see what is that relationship. So the standard x and y axis, they are all that coordinates axis we call, and r and theta are polar angles. So which means that here this is called as r cos theta and r sin theta. Y equal to r sin theta and x equal to r cos theta. So that we know. Now, instead of an x and y axis, when you think of real and imaginary axis, okay, so we can do the same, but here you need, as I told you, you need this angle, isn't it? So this is real and imaginary axis. So e power I phi, this graph we have seen already. E power I phi equal to cos phi plus I sin phi. And the amazing thing, that is the wonderful thing is, see, you get e power I phi. Suppose if you shift to the second quadrant, now that turn, that rotation, if you shift to 180 degree or pi radians, then you will be getting the answer e power I phi as the real number, that is minus 1. So e power I phi, the value of this complex number is a real number, that is minus 1. So that this equation e power I phi plus 1 equal to 0. So this is called as simple and unexpected relation between E, I, and phi. It is a beautiful identity, that is a complex number giving having the value as a real number. So that is a very important identity. Okay. Now, I power I is 100% real. Is that so? That is another question. When you raise to the power of I, the number I, the imaginary number I, that is I power I means I raised to I multiplied I times. So actually it is, we cannot find, we cannot think of that. See, if you have, if you want to find 3 squared, which means 3 you are multiplying 3 times. That is something we are able to understand. Our brain can understand that. Okay, but a mathematician thinks about raising I to the power of 5, right? So all human beings cannot think like that, but they have thought and they've arrived the answer also. So I power I, what is the literal meaning here? I multiplied by I times. So just explain it. That is root of -1 multiplied by root of -1 times. So what is the meaning? Root of -1 times. If you multiply 3 times, I can understand. If you multiply one number 5 times, I can understand. If you multiply one number billion times also, we can understand. But what is the meaning of root of -1 multiplying by root of -1 times? Yes. So a normal brain cannot understand, but mathematically you can find the value, and it is amazing that it is actually 100% a real number. So how? This is what is proved here. Take I for I pi by 2, that we know. Cos pi by 2 plus I sin pi by 2. Cos pi by 2 is 0 and sin pi by 2 is 1. So the value is I. So to know what I for I, we all to do is raise to the power of I. Okay, so e power I pi by 2 whole power I. So e power I pi by 2 is I, we know. Now you have to raise to the power of I. So when you raise to the power of I, it is understood that by the power rule, I a power b whole power x is a power bx. That is this multiply. I into I. I into I is I squared. So I squared is -1, right? So e power minus pi by 2. What is this e power minus pi by 2? Cos pi by 2 minus I sin pi by 2, isn't it? Cos pi by 2 minus I sin pi by 2. Okay. So with actually this approximately equal to 0.20788. So which is a pure real number, right? So when an imaginary number raised to that imaginary number, you are getting the answer as a real number. It's something amazing, isn't it? So applications. Actually, applications part. See, if you think that if you want to know clear explanation, that is how it is applied. So we have to read further complex numbers because many further reading is needed. So actually, I'm saying that it is applied in science, engineering, statistics, and also to find Cauchy's integral formula and calculus of residues. In electricity also, to solve electric circuits, you will be using complex number. And also this Ohm's law and root locus method. So everywhere it is important. So further, actually complex numbers, you have to further study about complex function, poles, zeros, residues, everything. So that will come in your higher studies. Then only you can understand how really it is applied in other fields. But before that, so one important hypothesis is there. Actually, I am really attracted by certain hypotheses, these kind of hypotheses. I'll just explain in very simpler way. Try whether you will be able to understand. Okay. So this is a very interesting thing in mathematics. So the conjecture, actually conjecture means, what is the meaning of conjecture? See, mathematicians and scientists, they just say some statement and you can feel that it is true, but mathematically you won't be able to prove it. So that is called conjecture. So it is called Riemann. Riemann we have seen in integration itself. So here he has given one statement. So that statement, actually it is correct. All throughout the world, all scientists and mathematicians have accepted that the statement is true. But till now, nobody has proved that statement. So this Riemann hypothesis, he asks a question about a special thing called the Riemann zeta function. So this function I will give you. So you will be able to understand what is that function. And if you all think, the thing you have to find is what is the root of that function. Root means, I will explain that also. See here, the story is, it is not a story, actually it is real. Now also it is there. So if the answer to the question is yes, this would mean mathematicians can know more about prime numbers. Actually, everybody is waiting for the technology to take a turn to solve this Riemann zeta function. Okay, so then definitely we will come to know. Yesterday also we have seen the prime numbers pattern. We said that there is no pattern. We are unable to find the pattern. Now, if this question is solved, then the prime numbers will come to we will come to a conclusion about the prime number, and many network security will improve. So like that, many applications are there in solving this, but unfortunately, so in still now, till this date, the Riemann hypothesis is not yet solved, and for this alone, you can get $1 million as a prize if you solve this from Clay Mathematics Institute. It is in UK, in Oxford. So Clay Mathematics Institute has offered this kind of a prize for a person to prove this. Almost every mathematicians, actually, in my research, I have touched the starting point, but still it is really very tough question to solve it. So now let us understand some basic things. That is, functions take, actually it takes inside the numbers and give you other numbers back. That is called a function. So input and value. Okay, even Riemann zeta function also. So if you give one number, it will give you a special value back, and mostly get a different value for each input. So one input, suppose you cannot get the same value for a different input. So if you give one number, you will get a different value. So both the input you give and the value you get from zeta function are special numbers called complex numbers. So they are all complex numbers. So the value you get, whatever the number you are giving, it gives out the complex numbers only as a output. Now, when you put an input into the Riemann zeta function, even you get a 0 back. Okay, so when you get a 0, that is called a root. That is the root. That is, for any function, where it touches the x-axis, that is called a root. Because you want to find a root. So finally, the question is, what are all the numbers when you get 0 as a root? Okay. See, for example, if you have x squared plus 3x equal to 0, x cubed plus 3x is equal to 0, then you get x equal to 0 is one root, because when you put x as 0, it satisfies the equation. So, but that is called a trivial root. So easily, if you are able to find it very easily, trivial roots have been found. Many answers are there for a trivial root. But what do you mean by non-trivial root? It should be really hard to find. That is called, because trivial root is not of any use. So only if you find the non-trivial root, that is, they are called negative even integers. Trivial roots are called negative even integers. So those are the roots of this function. But we know that trivial roots of the that is actually he has helped us to solve this this problem with the functional equation. Actually, I'm not going to give you the functional equation, because actually the structure of the functional equation is very hard at this age to understand. So I'm going to give you only what is zeta function. Okay, so the non-trivial roots are harder to find than the trivial roots. So, but lots of non-trivial roots have been found, but still the complex number have two parts. See, one of these parts is called real part, isn't it? So all the non-trivial roots we found have a real part, that is the same number. So that has been found. Non-trivial roots so far, whatever we have found, that is 1/2. So the real part is 1 by 2. That is fixed and it is proved also. So this is a big question about which is about how big the real parts are. So this question is the Riemann hypothesis. So the question is, do all the non-trivial roots have real part 1 by 2? That's all. So many non-trivial parts roots are being found. Now all the non-trivial roots will have real part only 1 by 2. And still there is no answer. Whether it is yes or no. That is a question. If you say yes, you have to prove. If you say no, then also you have to prove. Okay. So now this special function helps to find facts about the real parts. So Riemann's functional equation tells about the size of the real parts. All the non-trivial zeros have a real part close to 1 by 2. Either 1 by 2 or in the neighborhood of 1 by 2. So it says how small the real parts can be and how big they can be. So how small, that is how close to 1 by 2 or how far away from 1 by 2. But it doesn't say exactly. This functional equation doesn't say exactly what they are. So these real parts have to be bigger than 0. That we know. So bigger than 0, but they have to be less than 1. That means, so between 0 to 1 only that real part should lie. So, but we still are struggling. So now actually this real part bigger than 0 but smaller than 1 is called the critical strip. I'll show you the graph also of the critical strip. See, this is the zeta function. Riemann zeta function, actually it is the series, this infinite series, 1 plus 1 by 1 par s, 1 by 1 plus 1 by 2 par s, like that. So what are these? Yes, they are not mere real numbers, they are complex numbers. That is another thing here. 1 by 1 par s, yes, is a complex number, so everywhere. So this is the Riemann zeta function. Now what we have to find? So we have to find one yes is a complex number, so that this becomes 0. That is, the series becomes 0. So this is what is the question. So what is the question? You find a complex number, yes, such that the series gets vanished. That is, if you put yes, substitute that number here, then it will get the hypothesis. So actually, it is very closely related to prime numbers. This Riemann hypothesis. That actually many of the mathematicians understood, but they for nearly 150 years this has not been yet solved. So that like this, there are many $1 million questions in Clay Institute. They have announced $1 million for those problems. More than 5 problems are there. Still, it is not solved. But this is the oldest one. So more than 150 years. So actually, in mathematics, this is very rare because many theories have been proved or disproved by someone. But this is actually it is very rare. Maybe studying about prime numbers is really tough because to know the pattern of the prime numbers, it is like going near to God. So that is why this problem is still tougher. Okay. So now see, look at this. This is the critical strip. Okay. So these are the trivial solutions. Trivial solutions are negative even numbers. They are the trivial solutions that we are able to. Real numbers means we are able to do it. But only those complex numbers is creating the problem. Okay. So this is the 0 to 1. So almost all the roots are lying on 1 by 2. That is this line. This line is the y equal to 1 by 2. Oh, sorry, it's equal to 1 by 2. This line parallel to the imaginary line, that is 0.5 distance. So these are all the roots, and this is also a root. This is also so many non-trivial solutions has been found, but still we have a question whether everything, all the roots. See, it has got many roots. We don't know how many roots. We don't know. So it has got many roots. All the roots will be like this only. Okay, this is the question, whether it is yes or no. Yes or no question. So now a colorful image of this this one. So this is the non-trivial zeros. Okay, so this is the line, imaginary line. All these zeros are lying like this. Okay. So in quantum mechanics, so what is the role of complex number? So the fundamental equation in quantum physics, actually it is an imaginary number in it. So this is psi. We know that any Euler structure psi equal to a e power I phi. So this is the Euler structure. Now here they connect this phi as the phase of the wave function, and a is the magnitude of the wave function. Now the wave function by itself is not a measurable quantity, but it contains measurable quantity. It cannot be measured, but it contains some quantity. So the probability of the outcome of a particular measurement is found by multiplying the wave function by its complex conjugate. That is, the probability is psi into psi star. This becomes a real. So we know that a squared, where psi star will be a into e power minus I by the complex conjugate. So that is, the probability only depends on the amplitude and not phase. Okay. So that's all. Stay with maths always to realize the infinite power within you. Any doubts?
Thank you, Tamilselvi ma'am.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for continuously preparing so many PPTs with a lot of information for our participants. Participants, you have any questions for asking? Please type it in the chat box. Any doubts or clarifications you have? Any doubts, participants? Please post it in the chat box. Ma'am, Vijay Srinivasan, he's having a doubt.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
How to visualize the imaginary part in quantum mechanics?
How to visualize imaginary part? Okay, that actually I don't know what is quantum mechanics. Maybe, ma'am, principal ma'am is there.
Yeah, one second.
Ma'am, quantum mechanics is more physics oriented, and I have not gone in depth to quantum mechanics.
Yes.
But anyhow, we can find an answer and send them. That will not be a problem, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So we will find an answer and send it to you.
You can also fill in your question in the suggestion form so that we'll just go through the questions and also respond you through mail. I request all the participants to please fill up the attendance form for today, because it is very compulsory for all the participants to fill up the attendance form, because we find that many participants don't fill up the feedback form and later on come asking for e-certificates. Kindly fill up the feedback form, participants. Yeah, I'll modify that. I'll modify the permission in the settings. I think now you can fill up the attendance form because it will not ask for permission, Danush. Any other questions, participants? We are waiting for your questions. I've corrected the permission settings. So now you can please check. It will be available for filling up. Ma'am, do you have anything to add on, ma'am? Principal, ma'am?
Ma'am, we will be coming up with other series that I wanted to inform the students. Probably by the middle of this week, we will come up with some seminars, webinars on healthcare or something, which would be relevant. Though the mathematics series is finished, if they do want mathematics series again, they can post it, have it in their feedback, show it in their feedback. From that, we can take up some subjects and any other topic which they want to attend. That also they can suggest, and anyhow this webinar series would continue, but though it will not be on mathematics, some other webinars we will be coming up with that we will be sharing the link with the students as well. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
you. Thank you, participants. I think Vijay Srinivasan, you have a question. What is the significance of imaginary part on any applications, sir?
See, actually, one significance is that imaginary part. Actually, it is used. Complex number generally it is used to find the value in the real number system. So that is the significance. One of the significance. Of course, there will be many significance. So that is what, to understand the application of complex number, you need to understand further about the complex functions. So complex functions, zeros of the complex functions, and residues, poles. There are many things.
Ma'am,
yes.
I would like to add on related
yes,
to the imaginary part on any applications. See, participants, actually, this complex number has a varied applications in engineering field, as ma'am would have already shown in the presentation. So one application of complex numbers is like in transmission lines. You have seen electrical transmission lines on the roads. So there is some concept called as propagation constant, like how the wave propagates via the transmission line. So that propagation constant is expressed in the form of a complex number. So the real part of the propagation constant is nothing but attenuation constant, and the imaginary part is nothing but phase constant. So this phase constant is very vital in determining what is the phase of the wave which propagates through the transmission line. So that is one application what you are asking. I hope it has answered you, Vijay Srinivasan.
Thank you, ma'am. Wonderful explanation. Students, any other? I think Vijay Srinivasan, it must be here. So actually, I was very much excited to be with you for the past 5 weeks. Really, it was wonderful to spend 4 hours per week with you students. So my advice is always visualize the problem according to your brain's understanding. So don't give complex formula to your brain so that it will forget. So whenever you want to apply the formula, first you understand conceptually, and then you study mathematics. So that mathematics is a field wherein your brain gets trained, because it is all abstractness you are studying, and you have to visualize. So many young minds, you people are the leaders of tomorrow's world. So your mind should be empowered, and so we have to understand each and every concept according to your brain's understanding. It is not that somebody will, each one will have their own thinking, their own restructuring of the problem. So whatever the problem, whether you are taking that problem in physics or chemistry or maths, so you first structure according to your understanding, and then you find your own way. First you try out. Don't go to Google or textbook every time. First you think. So you give a thought for your brain, then it will give you wonderful answers which we never expect. And moreover, understand that all the problems has got solutions. So those solutions, we don't know when we will be getting. So you continuously put the thinking on that one particular problem, and also you just see mathematics in your day-to-day life. Apply everywhere. Whenever you walk, whenever you see something. So what is this? So you relate all the things to your real life. So it is not that I'm not saying that you work out when you walk, how many, what is the energy you have spent, you have to work out. Not like that. So at least you just give a mathematical view of everything, because we know that mathematics actually it is coincides with our life. So that is why, all the very best. I invite every school student to come and study at Alpha. So like me, all the teachers are great teachers in Alpha College of Engineering who cares about the students.
I would like to add on to what Sujata was saying.
Yes.
Like, you know that any current flows through a material, there would be a resistance which opposes the flow of the current, right? So all plus 2 students, they would have known that resistance to current we denote it by R. But whether only the material offers resistance, or do capacitors and inductors also offer resistance? Anybody answer that? Ma'am, is the students available, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. They
Yes,
are
ma'am,
available.
they are available.
So can you suggest that in chat box? Does capacitor and inductor offer resistance? Do they offer resistance? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, they do offer resistance, the flow of current, but it will not be in the same phase as the resistance. A resistor, if you put in a circuit, both will not be in the same phase. So the phase difference, if you want to express that, that has to be in imaginary part only. Though they are not offering the flow of current in the same phase as the current flows, that resistance offered by capacitor and inductor, we call it as reactance, right? So there would be a phase change that is expressed in the imaginary terms because the phase difference has to be shown. So that's why we do apply complex numbers in engineering. So is that clear? And as this is going to be the last day of our bridge course in mathematics, I would like to thank all the participants for being attentive and taking knowledge share from Tamilselvi ma'am. And Tamilselvi ma'am especially, because this is a strenuous work. She has been doing it for past 5 weeks, preparing a PPT and getting all the inputs and delivering it is not an easy joke. She has been doing that continuously. And congratulations, ma'am. You have done a wonderful job. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And Sujata, ma'am, being a coordinator, she has been the one who has been the moderator, and she has been doing a wonderful job. She is taking the questions from the students and handing it over to Tamilselvi ma'am and getting her this thing. And she has been doing this, all the mail correspondence, feedback, everything she is doing. And that is a wonderful job, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all for being with us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
And I thank the
you,
management also for the opportunity. Unless they have made us do this, it would not have happened. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, participants. Have a wonderful day.
We hope to see your active participation in the forthcoming webinars and workshops as well. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.